Hey guys, welcome back. I'd like to touch on how having a hair transplant procedure can in many ways enslave you. Uh, what it's going to do, it's going to, for a lot of guys, you're not going to hear about this, but it's going to tend to alter your behavior. And the reason being is that the nature of a hair transplant is such that your hair needs to be styled in a certain way. A lot of guys are going to need to use concealer. I'm guessing most of you know what concealer is. It's either going to come in a spray on, a sprinkle on, or a rub on. And what that does is it's going to help darken your scalp, so it cuts down on the contrast. It makes the hair transplant less see-through. Or the sprinkle kind is going to kind of, it has like an electrostatic nature where it'll stick to the strands of your hair. So you can go out in public and not have that see-through look of a hair transplant. But the problem with that is it comes with all kinds of issues. And many of those issues are going to be wind and water related. So if you need to go out in the weather, you need to check the weather forecast, because if it's raining outside, that's going to be a problem. And if it's really windy outside, it's going to be a problem too. And so you're always going to wonder what the weather is going to be that day. This is not something you would normally probably do, at least not on a daily basis. So that would be like an example of an alteration of behavior. You want to know what the weather is, you know, more so than a normal person would. And so a few experiences that I've had is you tend to avoid situations where you're out in direct sunlight, because anyone that's familiar with a hair transplant knows that direct sunlight can be your worst enemy, because it shows everything. It'll completely reveal a hair transplant. So this means that if you're invited to a barbecue, that could be an issue. You might be thinking, well, how's the weather going to be? Is it going to rain? Is it going to be windy? Is it going to be really sunny? It's like there is no right answer. And so sometimes it's easier just not to go. You have to really force yourself. So depending on your personality, you're going to either miss it, and you're going to miss all of them, or you're going to just force yourself out in the situation. That's another form of behavior modification. I remember speaking to one patient that he told me kind of a funny story. He was on a first date with a young lady, and they end up going to an amusement park. He had a lot of concealer in his hair, and he made the mistake of getting on a roller coaster. That's a big no-no. And we kind of laughed about it. But when he got off, he had concealer all over him. His face, his clothes, the top of his shirt. And so, yeah, that can be really, that could be devastating. You can look back on it and laugh, but at the moment, in the moment, it's not a pleasant feeling. So, do you want to go on a, do you want to, if you like going to amusement parks, do you want to continue to do that? Did you think about it? Did anybody ever tell you? Probably not. It's something that, I mean, sometimes you become so focused on the hair itself, you don't understand all the, you don't understand the implications of having a procedure and how it affects your life. That's something to think about. I'll tell you something for me personally. I wanted to roll in jiu-jitsu way before most people even were familiar with it. This is going back to after the first UFC. So this is going back in the middle 80s or so. I had the videotapes and everything, and I wanted to practice. And then, but the thing about rolling and wrestling, if you have concealer in your hair, or if you've had a hair transplant, you really can't do it. So that's like one regret I really had, because by this time I would have been pretty far along. We're talking, what, this is over 20 years. So I ended up getting involved in other activities like boxing and other martial arts, Muay Thai, which were not as big of an issue. Still had problems with it, but less so. And oh, here we go. I got invited on a boat, and I tried to put this off as much as I could, but it got to the point where I could not refuse this person any longer for a lot of reasons. And getting on a speedboat with concealer in your hair and trying to maintain a hairstyle can be a real nightmare. It creates a lot of anxiety. And so do you like going on boats? Do you like going on motorcycles? Do you like riding real fast on a bicycle? Have you thought about any of these issues? This is how a hair transplant can affect your life. You know, very often what you will find with hair transplants is that there's going to be a slight comb forward in the hairstyling. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because the caliber doesn't. It's off. A good example would be somebody that you might be familiar with would be Jeremy Piven. He does a slight comb forward. Listen, if you're out in the wind or anything, I'm a sprinter. You know, if you're sprinting and your hair is blowing back, it's a problem. You know, since I've had my repair, which has taken me pretty far, it's not perfect, but you know, I can sprint. But all these things you would normally do all become issues. And this is just a small sampling. It enslaves you. So I'm going to touch more on this subject itself. I have to give it a little more thought, because I know there's more. They're just not coming to mind at the moment. But I'll put a list together. So subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.